Chapter 4578. That's true. Hearing that, the first monk nodded. Lin Ling. And Yuer and the others stood up to welcome Lin Ling. The Xian Yuanguer stared at the two shameless monks and was about to tell them what had happened. I know. However, Lin Ling smiled at the Xian Yuanguer. Although the two monks didn't attack you and the rest, they were still making a racket not far away. They were clearly looking for trouble. Brotherling, they are related to Buddhism after all. So just give them a word of advice. Don't make things too awkward. Yu knew Lin Ling's temper, so she could not bear it and tried to persuade him. Of course, the most important thing was that in the past half a month, she had seen many powerful ancient gods on the island. Their strength was not much weaker than Lin Ling's. However, they were not 100% confident that they could defeat Lin Ling, so they did not dare to provoke Lin Ling. Don't worry, I've always been a reasonable person. Lin Ling nodded and walked towards the two monks step by step. This caused many of the ancient gods in the bamboo forest who were comprehending the Tao to look over, and their eyes trembled. The newcomer had finally appeared. Moreover, he seemed to be looking for trouble with Miao Tan and Fan Xiang. Miao Tan and Fan Xiang are the reincarnations of the Buddha child. They were the 18 Sangaras under the Buddha god. This newcomer dares to not give face to the Buddha god? Miao Tan and Fan Xiang are lantern essences from the Chaos realm. They have a strong background and are very close to the 6 stars Lord of the Southern Dipper. Du Xing provoking them is the same as provoking Du Xing. However, even though I don't like that newcomer, I dislike those two bald donkeys even more. Back then, their origins were indeed not small. However, they have reincarnated and recultivated. Their current strength is not much stronger. What are they being so arrogant for? The sound of whispers quietly rang out in the bamboo forest. Among the ancient gods in the Tao realm, some of them were extremely powerful back in the day and dominated the era, but after reincarnating they were very weak. Some of them were ordinary back in the day, but after reincarnating they were extremely powerful. Therefore, in the Tao realm, strength was the most important factor. His strength in the past could only mean that he was not strong in the past or in the future. When Lin Ling came to the side of the clear spring of the two monks, he just stood there quietly, causing the two monks to frown and immediately feel uncomfortable in their hearts. Is there anything I can help you with? Sir, just because you're fishing doesn't mean that others can't speak. So, I don't think we've offended you. The faces of the two turned cold, as if they were very reasonable. However, Lin Ling didn't say anything. One of the monks narrowed his eyes and said, Amitba, Du Adversity Star Lord has been looking for you. He has an opportunity with you. You should go to the fog barrier and wait for Du Adversity Star Lord to come out. He seemed to be reminding, but in fact he was also threatening Lin Ling. What he meant was that among the lower gods on the island, Du Adversity Star Lord was the most powerful. If he offended them, Du Adversity Star Lord would definitely find trouble with him. However, Lin Ling still didn't say anything. This also caused the two monks to suddenly feel immense pressure. Ignore him. Buddha says that if a mirror has no stand, where can it attract dust? The two monks no longer paid attention to Lin Ling. Suddenly, the clear spring in front of them was filled with dense light, and they could vaguely see a Tao fish slowly taking the bait. This also caused them to be shocked. They had finally caught a Tao fish. Being able to catch a Tao fish was not only an affirmation of their martial heart, but if they could bring the fish up, it could also increase their divine power and could be used to exchange for Tao realm fragments. However, just as they were about to reel in the fish, a loud roar suddenly rang out. Pa pa pa! The fishing rods in the hands of the two monks, which were condensed from divine essence, were so frightened that they shattered. And the Tao fish that they had caught with great difficulty was also frightened away. Your Excellency! The two monks immediately flew into a rage and turned to look at Lin Ling behind them. Your Excellency, when fishing a Tao fish, it doesn't mean that others can't speak. Lin Ling also looked at them and smiled faintly. Damn it! The two monks were stunned, and veins instantly appeared on their foreheads. This person was doing it on purpose. He was also returning an eye for an eye. Your so-called mirror has no stand, where can it attract dust? In my opinion, that's just a fart. It's just a scare, but you were actually scared to the point that your divine essence collapsed. Your Buddha's heart should be strengthened. Lin Ling said again. Your Excellency, don't court death. One of the monks seemed to be unable to hold back. However, the other monk advised, Miao Tan, ignore him. He's probably angering us. Don't be angry, don't be angry. Thinking of Lin Ling's strength, they still didn't dare to attack and continued to fish calmly. However, Lin Ling was still standing behind them, making them feel as if a fishbone was stuck in their throats. When the experts in the distance saw this, they all laughed. These two of the 18 Sangarans did not learn anything from befriending calamity-traversing Star Lord. Instead, they learned how to be despicable and shameless. The most ironic thing was that after these two monks cheated others, they even righteously said that this was karma. But now, the wicked would naturally be dealt with by the wicked. The wind rises, the clouds rise, and the might of the sea returns home. Brave warriors guard the four directions. And when the two monks ignored Lin Ling, a thunderous explosion suddenly came from behind them. It shocked the two monks so much that their arms trembled. The fishing rod formed by divine essence collapsed once again. They were so angry that their faces were trembling. They knew that this newcomer was doing it on purpose. Endure, they had to endure. The two of them suddenly gritted their teeth and used their divine powers to block everything from the outside world. Don't you see the water of the yellow river coming from the sky, rushing to the sea and never returning? Don't you see the white hair of the bright mirror, like black hair that turns to snow in the evening? One must enjoy life to the fullest, making the golden goblet empty to the moon. I'm born to be useful, and gold will come back after being scattered. Cooking sheep and slaughtering cows for pleasure, drinking 300 cups in one go. However, Lin Ling used his powerful divine power as if it was a large hand, constantly pouring his voice into the ears of the two monks. You want to calm your heart? Calm your ass. Boom! The two monks nearly vomited blood as if they had gone berserk. And this time they could not hold it in any longer. They stood up and turned to glare at Lin Ling angrily. What? You can't even recite a poem? However, Lin Ling had a look of indifference on his face. The two monks were so angry that they were stunned and speechless, and the gods who were quietly observing from afar could not help but laugh at this moment. Now this was the real cause and effect. How could one not wet their shoes if they stood by the riverside? You are forcing us to take action and enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. The two monks knew that this newcomer wanted to waste time with them from the bottom of his heart. Therefore, if they did not chase this newcomer away, they would not be able to comprehend the Tao. Yes, so what? Lin Ling narrowed his eyes as he looked at them. He was not afraid at all. Your Excellency, today, I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Die. One of the monks could not hold it in any longer. He released his divine essence, wanting to teach Lin Ling a lesson. Miao Tan, no. Chapter 45-79. As the saying goes, try peaceful means before resorting to force. The other party did not attack Yu and the others, but chose to harass them. Therefore, Lin Ling gave them face and did not attack at the beginning. Now they actually dared to attack first? Then there was no need to reason. Boom! Lin Ling punched out, breaking the sun and moon. His power was magnificent. The Buddhist monk's righteous power was shattered by the punch. At the same time, Lin Ling's punch landed on his cheek, causing him to vomit 3 liters of blood. His teeth were also in the blood. Cultivate Buddha, my ass. You can't win the argument and you attack. You're forcing my hand. Lin Ling said regretfully after severely injuring the Buddhist monk with one punch. It was as though he had no choice but to attack. However, since Lin Ling had decided to attack, he would go all the way. Next, he attacked the other Buddhist monk. What ancient great god! You're just a fart in my eyes. The Buddhist monk was not weak. Unfortunately, he met Lin Ling. Lin Ling's foundation and heritage were terrifying. Even among the lower gods, he was unique. He had reached a level that made people's hair stand on end. Boom! Lin Ling punched out, breaking the bowl that the Buddhist monk threw out. Then he punched the latter's bald head. I don't care if you're reincarnated Buddhas or gods. You're so shameless. Even a dog is better than you. After attacking, Lin Ling showed no mercy. He punched and kicked, causing the entire bamboo forest to shake. In the eyes of the ancient great gods, he was like an ancient giant beast. His punches and kicks were filled with boundless Tao. In the end, the two Buddhas were beaten black and blue. And this was because Lin Ling was giving face to Yu. Otherwise, he would have sent them back to their homes. Bang! Bang! Lin Ling threw the 2 bald donkeys into the clear spring. He said coldly, "If I see you climb out of the spring before I leave, I'll send you back to the chaos realm." Inside the clear spring, the 2 monks didn't dare to speak. Even though they were the saviors of the world, they were like drowning dogs at this moment. Moreover, not only did they not dare to speak, they didn't even dare to climb out of the clear spring. They were deeply afraid that Lin Ling would kill them and waste a chance at life. Brother Ling. He's the reincarnation of a Buddha god. Yu watched as Lin Ling violently attacked. When Lin Ling came back, Yu couldn't help but complain. "I really don't need to give any face to these bald donkeys. There are millions of Buddhas, but it doesn't mean that anyone can become a Buddha. A true Buddha wouldn't do such despicable things," Lin Ling said with a smile. He sat down beside Yu and the others and condensed a fishing rod with his divine essence. He also caught a fish. Of course, his gaze swept over the 2 Buddhist monks from time to time. They were so scared that they wanted to run away several times, but in the end they did not dare to come out. His wretched appearance caused the experts in the distance to laugh out loud once more. Dao fish, Dao pond. Of course, Lin Ling also looked at the misty clear spring from time to time. He had a vague feeling that this clear spring was formed from the great Tao comprehended by that ancient giant god who fused with the Tao realm. He estimated that there were many such springs in the entire Tao realm. The hazy clear spring was like the moon in the water. Lin Ling quietly watched and gradually became immersed in it. He felt as if he was running in the beautiful river of time. Everything around him was like a white horse galloping through a crack. The great battle of gods created heaven and earth. Time quietly passed just like that. Brother Ling. Only when a soft voice came over did Lin Ling return to normal. His eyes flashed as he looked to the side. He saw Yu and Inuer looking at him with a smile, and they had already caught many Dao fish in their hands. "Lin Ling, what happened to you just now? I saw you staring at the Dao pond in a daze. Could it be that you had some enlightenment?" Inuer asked curiously. "It's nothing. I just encountered some strange phenomenon." Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. His eyes looked back at the Dao pond again, but he found that he couldn't find the same feeling as before. "I'm guessing that Brother Ling encountered his own fortuitous encounter in the Dao pond." Yu also smiled at the side. "Because Brother Ling has been looking at it for 3 days already." 3 days. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He then checked his body and was shocked to find that his step of wisdom's power had increased greatly without him noticing, reaching the immemorial grade. And last time, when Lin Ling's soul power had increased greatly, his step of wisdom had reached the peak of the grand beginner grade. Now it had finally reached a new level. Domain. But what shocked Lin Ling was that although the step of wisdom had increased, his soul power didn't increase much this time. "Lin Ling, let's go back," Yu said to Lin Ling at this time. Lin Ling nodded and looked at the Dao pond again. He felt that he should try it again when he had time, hoping that he could find the same feeling as before. Then he left the bamboo forest with Yu and the others. The 2 Buddhist monks had already run away. Of course, Lin Ling didn't have time to pay attention to them. "Let's go to the miasma to have a look. Bai Shui, Su Nu, Shangyi and the others have all gone in. I wonder if they've come out now." After leaving the bamboo forest, Lin Ling led Yu and the others in the direction of the miasma. And that direction was where Lin Ling and the others had first come. It was also the place where most of the ancient great gods had gathered on the island. "Look, that newcomer is here. A few of his friends have entered the miasma. Could it be that he's going to the miasma as well?" Before he went in, Du Dao Star Lord was waiting for him. When the ancient great gods saw Lin Ling, they all started to talk about him. Now Lin Ling was quite famous on the island. Although his strength was not comparable to an intermediate celestial, he was one of the top lower celestials. Moreover, Lin Ling had the support of a powerful intermediate celestial, so ordinary intermediate celestials didn't dare to provoke him. Lin Ling heard the discussion around him, but he didn't pay attention to it. He looked into the distance. There the light of treasure soared into the sky, forming a large area of clouds and mist. And in that area there was a path out of the island. Looking at the edge of the clouds and mist, the rolling river water hid a large number of ancient great crocodiles. It seems that Bai Shui Su knew, and the others still haven't come out. Lin Ling guessed. I heard that Du Dao Star-Lord has reached the 7th level. He's 2 levels away from leaving the island completely. TSK. He's the first person in 1,000 years. The 7th level. This means that Du Dao Star-Lord's strength has reached a terrifying level. He's really invincible among lower celestials. It's impossible to be invincible. I heard that in other places, there are lower celestials who have walked out of the 9th level of the miasma. But Du Dao Star-Lord is one of the best among lower celestials. He deserves his reputation. Chapter 4580. At this moment, the sound of heavy footsteps came from the front, causing the entire sky to fall silent. Then, a thin and weak man in a loose robe walked over with a smile on his face. I finally passed the 7th level. If not for the lack of divine essence, I might have been able to pass the 8th level. The man's smile was very amiable. If one did not know him, they would have a good impression of him at first glance. However, those who knew him knew that he was despicable and shameless. He did not show any mercy. This was because he was calamity-traversing Star-Lord. He walked over with a smile and swept his gaze. Many ancient great gods subconsciously avoided his gaze. Clearly, many people had suffered greatly at his hands over the years on the island. However, he was very strong and had some backing. As a result, some middle-level gods who were stronger than him did not dare to provoke him. There's a new face. You must be a newcomer. Haha. I'm calamity-traversing Star-Lord. Greetings, ancient great gods. Suddenly, calamity-traversing Star-Lord's gaze landed on a few people. They were none other than Lin Ling. As Lin Ling and company were newcomers, calamity-traversing Star-Lord did not recognize them. Are we familiar with you? At this moment, Lin Ling spoke indifferently. His words stunned calamity-traversing Star-Lord. He was surprised that the newcomer did not give him any face. Calamity-traversing Star-Lord. This youth is the person you challenged in the fog. At this moment, the surrounding ancient great gods spoke. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the 2 monks were already hiding in the crowd. Furthermore, they had malicious looks on their faces. This was because calamity-traversing Star-Lord was like a calamity. As long as one was targeted by him, any ancient great god would be unlucky. 3 days ago, the newcomer had bullied them so badly. Now they could personally witness the calamity that befell the newcomer. You are the newcomer who defeated 10 people in a row? It's an honor to meet you. Calamity-traversing Star-Lord reacted. He had seen Lin Ling and the other newcomers, but he did not expect them to be the people who had caused the island to be in an uproar. I already said that I'm familiar with you. Lin Ling looked at Star-Lord Du Adversity indifferently. He did not act courteously just because of Star-Lord Du Adversity's politeness. This was because even though Du Adversity's Star Sovereign was all smiles, Lin Ling could see a sinister glint in his eyes. This glint was hidden very well, but Lin Ling was very knowledgeable. He knew that this kind of person prioritized benefits. On the surface, they were polite to you, but they could stab you in the back at any time. In addition, Star-Lord Du Xing's reputation was very bad. This explained everything even more. He were both ancient great gods and cannon fodder under the world will. We're not familiar with each other, but we're also familiar with each other. Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign smiled and didn't mind Lin Ling's rudeness. He continued, "Oh right, I said that I wanted to spar with you not long ago. It's rare for us to meet, so why don't we do it now? Don't worry, we're both ancient gods of the same era. I won't be too harsh on you." After he finished speaking, he looked at Miao Tan and the other monk and said, "Miao Tan, take out your Dao realm fragments. Take as many as you have." Okay. The 2 monks hurriedly nodded and took out a lot of Dao realm fragments. Star-Lord Du Xing took them. "I have about 500 Dao realm fragments here. How about this? If you win, they're all yours. If you lose, I don't want so many Dao realm fragments. I only want 300. What do you think?" Although Star-Lord Du Xing seemed to be taking care of Lin Ling, in fact, he was forcing Lin Ling into a corner. Everyone can bear witness to this matter. I believe that the Tao realm will preside over this battle fairly. Before Lin Ling could speak, Star Lord Du Xing spoke again. Throughout the entire process, he didn't ask for Lin Ling's opinion at all. In addition, he had a smile on his face. If it was a real newcomer, it would be difficult for them to refuse in consideration of their reputation. Unfortunately, he met Lin Ling. Lin Ling really didn't give him any face. Of course, if the other party wanted to give him Tao realm fragments, Lin Ling had no reason to refuse. Therefore, Lin Ling remained silent. However, in the eyes of the ancient great gods, Lin Ling was being forced into a corner, and there was no possibility of him refusing. This newcomer is also very strong. However, compared to Star Lord Du Xing, he's still weaker. Most importantly, he actually agreed. This means that he has to hand over the 200 Tao realm fragments that he won previously. He might even have to pay 100 of them. There's a good show to watch. Many ancient great gods laughed mockingly. They had witnessed Lin Ling's battle and Star Lord Du Xing's battle. In all fairness, they felt that Star Lord Du Xing's strength was stronger. Alright, since this senior has agreed, let's fight. Don't worry, this is just a spar. I won't fight to the death. Moreover, both you and I will benefit greatly from the battle between the two ancient great gods. Star Lord Du Xing said politely. However, his words were pleasant to the ears. Even if he won, he wouldn't kill Lin Ling. If it was someone else, this would also allow the other party to let go of the shackles in their heart and not have too many misgivings. Of course, only the scheming ancient great gods knew that these words actually had the taste of bewitching the enemy. This was because in a battle between two people, if they didn't have the mentality of killing their opponent, then the one with a relaxed mentality would be the easiest to lose. After all, if they felt that they wouldn't die, then they wouldn't use 120% of their strength when they attacked. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and understood the effect of Star Lord Du Xing's words. Star Lord Du Xing was indeed a powerful ancient great god. Not only was he strong, but he also knew how to use psychological tactics. The most terrifying thing was that even if it affected the opponent wouldn't know and would still be grateful to Star Lord Du Xing. Alright, let's focus on the spar. I also want to see how much my strength has increased. Without any nonsense, rolling divine energy appeared on the surface of Lin Ling's body. In just a few months, his strength had increased greatly, and he wanted to find a testing stone to test his strength. Haha, senior, you have to be careful. Star Lord Du Xing laughed and politely called him senior, giving Lin Ling enough face. However, he didn't show any mercy in his attack. He erupted with terrifying divine energy, and a sword appeared in his hand. Tens of thousands of rays of light flickered, and the heavenly abyss split open, and the long river of time appeared. In an instant he disappeared. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Lin Ling, and a fierce sword slashed down like the river of time. This sword didn't look fast, but it was very powerful. It locked onto Lin Ling, and Lin Ling felt that there was nowhere to hide. At this moment, Lin Ling also felt a total of 250,000 rays of divine energy suppressing him. 200,000 rays of divine energy in one attack, even stronger than the Maoshan immortal ancestor and the others. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He knew that Star Lord Du Xing could make the great gods fear him. Besides his despicable and shameless character, there was also his strength. Whoosh! Chapter 4581. After Lin Ling became a lower deity, he had fought countless lower deities. However, this due to Star Sovereign was the strongest one he had met. He was definitely stronger than Lord Ning and the rest. Bang! Lin Ling's arm trembled as he activated all his strength. Ka. However, the sword in the sky continued to press down like a river of time. Lin Ling found it difficult to lift his sword. Haha, newcomer, you should use your full strength. Otherwise you will lose. Due to Star Sovereign sneered. Suddenly, his divine power increased to 300,000. The setting sun was like blood as a demonic red light illuminated the entire sky. The arrival of this terrifying divine power increased the pressure on Lin Ling. He shouted angrily, "First stage." After the first stage of talent fusion, Lin Ling's strength increased greatly. The suppressed sword also slowly rose and slashed towards the sky. I've used my true strength, but it's still not enough. Due to Star Sovereign was shocked when he saw this. He shouted, "Moon stairs!" The strength of the sword in his hand increased explosively again, the divine force breaking through large characters, crazily surging to 300,000 lines, powerfully suppressing downwards. Rumble! The entire island swayed slightly at this moment. Countless ancient gods' faces changed slightly. "Newcomer, you won't lose just like this, right?" After the sword pressed down, Du de Star Sovereign laughed sinisterly as if he had obtained 300 Dao realm fragments. "It's still early." Lin Ling sensed that Du de Star Sovereign's talent had reached the 4th grade. He had hidden it well. No wonder he could dominate among the lower deities. 2nd stage. Lin Ling's strength increased again. Especially his physical strength, it increased even more. He slashed across the sky and reversed the situation. Rumble! The sky was blood red. Time seemed to have been sliced apart by the sword. What a powerful physical strength. Is that the killing steps? It is indeed as fierce as the rumors say. Du de Star Sovereign laughed and increased his divine power to 350,000. He pressed down with a terrifying force. Scram! Looking at the invisible slash of time, Lin Ling knew that although this slash seemed invisible, it was actually very powerful. However, Lin Ling did not stop here. Facing the 350,000 strands of divinity, he activated his 3rd phase talent and used the purest physical strength to resist. Boom! The ferocious power of the corporeal body caused the ground to crack open as it brought Lin Ling into the sky. It broke through the endless shackles and finally clashed with the sword of Du Adversity Star Sovereign. Boom! Boom! The collision of the two swords, a terrifying shockwave of divine essence power exploded out unstoppably. The two silhouettes were like ancient beasts as they stared at each other in the air. The first wave of confrontation had also ended. "Newcomer, your strength is not bad." Calamity Traversing Star Sovereign revealed a smile. He seemed friendly, but his eyes were cold. "Your strength is not bad." Lin Ling's eyes were cold. "However, the 300 Dao realm pieces are mine in the end," Calamity Traversing Star Sovereign said again. When he said this, his eyes were filled with killing intent. In the beginning, he said that this was a spar and that even if he won, he would not kill Lin Ling. He said this to make Lin Ling careless, but who knew that Lin Ling would not be fooled at all? Now he also had the intention to kill. It is too early to decide now. At this moment, Lin Ling's lips curled into a sneer. Suddenly, countless silhouettes of Lin Ling appeared on the ground and in the sky. They punched out with terrifying strength and hit Lin Ling's sword. Ding! Dang! Ear-piercing sounds rang out at the same time. These were the clones of the real body. "Fellow cultivator, let me help you." These clones had the strength of a late-stage lower deity. Their physical strength was also incomparably strong. After they attacked, they instantly suppressed Calamity Traversing Star Sovereign. This caused Calamity Traversing Star Sovereign's expression to change drastically. His arms were also trembling from the powerful physical strength. Such a change caused the eyes of the ancient great deities below to narrow. They did not expect this newcomer to have such a trump card. During the previous 10 consecutive battles, he did not explode with such a trump card. One should know that Lin Ling's physical strength had increased greatly. After the 3rd stage of the talent fusion, his physical strength had reached the strength of 10 million worlds. With such terrifying strength, it would not be difficult for him to destroy any lower deity. In addition to the 3,000 clones, it was no wonder that Calamity Traversing Star Sovereign, who had a 4th stage middle deity divine embryo, could not withstand it. Crack! Calamity Traversing Star Sovereign's arms trembled even more violently. The sound of his bones reaching their limits could be heard continuously. However, suddenly, he shouted angrily, "Primordial true step, step of the steps." With this voice, a strange energy suddenly erupted. It was extremely primitive. The energy that landed on Calamity Traversing Star Sovereign's sword suddenly had the power of the Great Tao. Crack! 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 The sword that had been suppressed by Lin Ling to the point of trembling suddenly had its aura greatly increased. It actually rebounded with a powerful physical strength. This strength had reached the strength of 8 million worlds. Although it was not as strong as Lin Ling's, one should know that the sword was suppressed with the power of 350,000 strands of divinity. With the two types of strength superimposed, Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign's sword instantly began to suppress it. This also caused Lin Ling's eyes to flash fiercely. The steps of the gods, and it was also a sealing-type technique? However, Lin Ling immediately discovered that his physical strength was still present. It was just that for some unknown reason Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign's physical strength had suddenly skyrocketed. Could it be that Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign's steps of the gods have the power to replicate my strength? Or is it related to his talent? Right, since the start of the battle, he has not unleashed the power of his talent. It is likely that the steps of the gods are related to his talent. It is the steps of the gods born from his talent. Several thoughts flashed through Lin Ling's mind in an instant. However, at this moment Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign slashed horizontally, slicing through the void and forcing Lin Ling to fly backward. At the same time, all of his clones were killed with a single slash. Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign's strength had now doubled by borrowing Lin Ling's strength. No lower god could withstand a single strike from him, unless it was Lin Ling. What terrifying strength! The expressions of all the ancient great gods changed drastically. Powerful talent, power of divinity that surpassed those of the same realm, and now that terrifying physical strength. Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign was indeed an expert that could reach the 8th level of the fog barrier. Newcomer, you forced me to do this. Now that I have your physical strength, let's see how you will fight me. Standing in the sky, Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign laughed loudly. His laughter caused the entire island to shake again. On the island, other than the middle gods, all the lower gods were breathing heavily. They looked at Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign as though they were looking at the strongest lower god emperor. What powerful strength! Brother Ling has always been a top lower god expert. However, Calamity-traversing Star Sovereign is not any weaker than Brother Ling. Chapter 4582. At this moment Lin Ling was floating in midair. If one looked carefully, one would notice that a corner of his robe had been cut off. If he hadn't retreated quickly, then Star Monarch Calamity's attack would have injured him as well. He stared at the Star Lord, his eyes flickering. No one knew what he was thinking. Cross-adversity Star Sovereign, your god's steps seem powerful. But in reality, the steps can only replicate physical strength, right? Lin Ling suddenly spoke. Hearing this, the Star Lord's eyes flashed, but he did not speak. And this god's steps can't replicate 100% of one's strength. It's only 80% now. Lin Ling continued. This means that if you meet other lesser gods, as long as their physical strength is not strong, your god's steps will be very ordinary. Ha ha ha, newcomer, I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to see through my god's steps in such a short time. At this time the Star Lord finally spoke. There are many types of god steps in the sealing system. My god steps are at the dominator level and can only seal physical strength. However, do you think the sealing system's god steps are easy to see? Let me tell you, among all the god steps, only the sealing system is the most terrifying. Among them, the soul system is the most terrifying. For example, your steps of killing may seem ferocious, but as long as one's divine strength surpasses yours by several times, they can still easily suppress it. Alright, I've said all that needs to be said. Now you're going to lose. Your physical strength is equal to mine. Although you have 7 great talents, I have a 4th grade divine fetus. Most importantly, your divine strength is inferior to mine. Die. Without wasting any more words, the Star Lord raised his sword and shot at Lin Ling. Heaven abyss opened again. Bloodlight filled the sky. There was bloodlight rising as if it was swallowing the essence of heaven and earth. With the addition of physical strength, the sword was clearly more terrifying than before. A ray of red light shot at Lin Ling. Its speed was incomparably fast, causing many ancient gods to hold their breaths. They knew that this battle was about to end. The newcomer was about to be eliminated, and the result was death. Tao Realm cultivators had 3 chances to die, each of which was extremely precious. If all 3 chances were used up, then they would truly die and enter the underworld's cycle of reincarnation. At that time, whether or not they could reincarnate again would be a problem. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, no one wanted to die and waste a chance to live. Of course, if one was close to death and wanted to enter the Tao realm after being taken away by a Tao realm cultivator, they would appear in the same place again. This meant that if they wanted to kill their opponent, they only needed to wait. As long as they did not leave, their opponent would have no hope of entering Dao initiation realm. Of course, this kind of situation would only happen when one's father was killed. Under normal circumstances, no one would waste time waiting for the opponent to come back. Moreover, his opponent had died twice in a row. The third time he returned, he would definitely be careful. If he did not return, the people in the Dao realm would not be able to do anything. This newcomer is dead for sure this time. The Cross-Calamity Star Lord seems easy to talk to, but in reality he is merciless. Even if the newcomer has no enmity with the Cross-Calamity Star Lord, the Cross-Calamity Star Lord still wants to kill him, not to mention that the Cross-Calamity Star Lord almost lost. Looking at the sky, many people secretly said. They knew that the newcomer would have to use up one of his 3 chances to live. However, Lin Ling was still standing in the sky, his gray robe fluttering in the wind. Although it looked dazzling, no one believed that Lin Ling could fight against the Cross-Calamity Star Lord. The reason he did not act was probably because he was unwilling to waste the chance to save his life in the Dao realm. He was also unwilling to lose the Dao realm fragment, so he was hesitating. Die. Of course, the Cross-Calamity Star Lord did not care about that and slashed with his sword. Clang! At this moment, Lin Ling finally attacked with a seemingly ordinary slash. Boom! However, this slash blocked the Cross-Calamity Star Lord's attack. After a ferocious force hit the Cross-Calamity Star Lord, the bloody light in the sky cracked. How is this possible? The Cross-Calamity Star Lord let out an angry roar as the sword in his hand slashed out crazily. However, he could not make Lin Ling move an inch. His gray robe fluttered in the sky. Lin Ling held his sword with one hand like an immovable wisdom king. Who said that I don't have the power of divinity? Lin Ling said in a low voice. He had come to this battle for the sake of experimenting. Therefore, he had initially wanted to see the limits of his physical strength and what kind of strength he could resist. Then he would test out the power of God. Now it was time for him to experiment with the power of divinity. Kakaka. Lin Ling's power of divinity began to soar, and gradually reached 250,000. And this was the basic power of divinity. But now he had a third-stage talent fusion and was the gray-robed Lin Ling. Therefore, his power of divinity crazily reached 330,000. It was only 20,000 less than the Cross-Calamity Star Lord. But Lin Ling's physical strength was stronger than the Cross-Calamity Star Lord's. Kakaka. The Cross-Calamity Star Lord's sword began to bend and could not block Lin Ling's sword. Looking from the ground, the scene was extremely spectacular. Lin Ling's sword suppressed the Cross-Calamity Star Lord into a disadvantage, and was in an extremely sorry state. At this moment, Lin Ling raised his head and said coldly, "Your god step shouldn't be able to replicate my power of divinity. How can your power of divinity be so strong?" The Cross-Calamity Star Lord's long hair danced wildly and his expression was abnormally ugly. If this continued, he would definitely be defeated. Bastard! The Cross-Calamity Star Lord cursed, clearly unwilling to accept this. There's nothing to be unwilling about. My powerful domain has exceeded your imagination. Lin Ling said indifferently. His words were true because he was mainly experimenting in this battle, and did not use any other methods. Otherwise, Lin Ling was confident that he could instantly defeat the Cross-Calamity Star Lord with just his speed. Alright, you win. I promise to give you 500 Dao Realm fragments. The Cross-Calamity Star Lord kept pondering and finally said with gritted teeth. 500 Dao Realm fragments was a huge sum of money. One might not have the chance to obtain it even in 100,000 years. It was the bargaining chip and capital to become stronger. Even a mid-level deity would feel heartache if they were asked to hand over 100 Dao Realm fragments, let alone 500 Dao Realm fragments. Even the Cross-Calamity Star Lord was defeated. This newcomer will probably be able to rush to the last level of the fog barrier. TSK, could he be thinking of becoming the strongest newcomer in the history of this island? I don't understand where this newcomer cultivated in the past and why he has such a strong foundation. If he reaches the mid-level deity realm, it's hard to imagine how strong he will be. On the ground, everyone was talking in a lively manner, and had a deeper understanding of Lin Ling's strength. Moreover, No one was sure that the current strength was Lin Ling's full strength. Admit defeat? Chapter 4583. Of course, it was only to intimidate. When Lin Ling gradually recovered, he looked around and saw a man holding a sword standing behind Yu and Inuer. It was the Star Lord of Du Adversity. Despicable newcomer. You tricked me into a duel with you. You want my 500 Dao state fragments? Dream on. I haven't lost yet. The Star Lord of Du Adversity shouted hysterically. As the most despicable and shameless lower deity on the island, how could he submit so easily? For the sake of the Dao realm fragment, he was willing to do anything. Star Lord of Du Adversity. Seeing the Star Lord of Du Adversity's actions, the other deities exclaimed. This Star Lord of Du Adversity was indeed ruthless. He actually used hostages to threaten. Kill yourself and admit defeat. Otherwise, I'll kill them. The Star Lord of Du Adversity looked coldly at Lin Ling and said, You sacrificed one life each, but all three of them survived. You've taken advantage of me. Hurry up and kill yourself. As long as Lin Ling committed suicide, it would mean that he had won the duel with Lin Ling. At that time, he would be able to obtain 300 Dao state fragments. His words were like a reward to Lin Ling. 1 life in exchange for 3 lives. However, given his character, as long as Lin Ling dared to commit suicide, he might kill Yu and the other two in the blink of an eye. Yu and the other two weren't as strong as the Star Lord of Du Adversity. Naturally, they couldn't resist at all. At that moment, Lin Ling walked down step by step from the sky. His face was as cold as ice, and his aura was even more imposing. If you dare to take another step forward, don't blame me for being impolite. Seeing that Lin Ling didn't listen to him, the Star Lord of Du Adversity was furious. Kill me if you dare. Let me tell you, if you dare to kill me, I can guarantee that there won't be a place for you to stay on this island. Not only will I kill you, but I'll also do nothing for the rest of my life except to guard this island. As long as you appear once, I'll kill you 3 times and you won't have the chance to reincarnate. Lin Ling's voice wasn't loud, but it was like a taboo wind that carried a strand of heartlessness that caused one's heart to tremble. When it entered the ears of Star Monarch Du Xing, it actually caused him to panic slightly. He had plotted against countless people in his life and killed countless ancient gods. However, he was still alive and well because he had a ruthless spirit. However, after meeting Lin Ling, this ruthless spirit suddenly became a little diffident. In fact, it wasn't just him. Even the ancient gods in the distance felt their hearts tremble. In his next life, he would do nothing but kill Star Lord Du Xing. Every time he saw him, he would kill him. This meant that Calamity Traverser Star Lord could no longer enter the Dao realm. He would die if he entered. Although Lin Ling had paid a great price by giving up the chance to leave the island and defending this place to the death, Lin Ling dared to do so and risk his life. This was the price of angering Lin Ling. Just like that, everyone watched as Lin Ling walked forward step by step. Cross Calamity Star Lord didn't dare to act rashly. However, he wasn't a greenhorn in the end. He knew that by threatening Yu and the others, he had already formed a grudge with this newcomer. Stop right there and kill yourself immediately. Otherwise, I will immediately kill someone. After calming down, Cross Calamity Star Lord shouted sinisterly. Either way, he would die. If he didn't do anything, not only would he lose 500 Dao realm fragments, but he would also be completely killed. Moreover, if he let Yu and the others go, Lin Ling might not let him go. He would still lose 500 Dao realm fragments. This time, Lin Ling finally stopped in his tracks. However, he wasn't far from the Cross Adversity Star Lord. Earlier you said that my killing steps can't compare to your sealing steps. How do you know that I only have the killing steps? Lin Ling said indifferently. What do you mean? Cross Calamity Star Lord frowned. He didn't understand what Lin Ling was talking about. Compared to the God steps of the sealing path, your steps are simply inferior. Lin Ling said again. These words made Cross Calamity Star Lord panic. Could Lin Ling also have the God steps of the sealing path? Kill yourself now. Cross Calamity Star Lord knew that he couldn't let Lin Ling live anymore. The longer he lived, the greater the pressure on him. Then, he planned to kill someone to make Lin Ling fear him. This was to make an example out of him. Die. He slashed his sword at Yu. Cardinal Grand Brahma punishment technique. However, at that moment, a furious roar resounded. Then, an extremely terrifying and mysterious power enveloped Cross-Calamity Star-Lord's body. Not only did it seal his talent, but it also sealed most of his divine power. Right now, Lin Ling's step of wisdom had reached the immemorial level. The 6 realms of the steps of the gods were elementary, Tao Sense, Dominator, Grand Elementary, Ancient, and Grand Beginning, Eternal. Even in the era of the gods, there weren't many that had god stairs at the ancient level. Star Sovereign Du Dao's sword suddenly slowed down. Of course, he was still a powerful lower god, so he still slashed at Yu. Bang! But at this moment, an arm suddenly grabbed the sword. Then, Lin Ling was already standing in front of the Star Lord. The Stair of Wisdom had sealed Du Adversity Star Sovereign's strength. With Du Adversity Star Sovereign's strength, his sword would not be able to stop Lin Ling. Calamity Traversing Star Lord looked at Lin Ling, who was right in front of him, and his legs went soft. Why was it like this? He was clearly about to kill this woman, so why did more than half of his strength suddenly disappear? Divine steps of the sealing system. Suddenly, Calamity Traversing Star Lord reacted. He suddenly raised his head to look at Lin Ling and muttered, "Soul system. You can die now." Lin Ling did not answer. His other hand slashed out fiercely with the intention of killing this ancient god. However, when his sword was about to approach Calamity Traversing Star Lord, a ferocious force erupted from the latter's body and forced Lin Ling to retreat. This force was 5-colored and very ancient. This was the power of the Tao realm. Obviously, the Tao realm had saved Calamity Traversing Star Lord when he was about to die and took him away. The 5-colored light enveloped Calamity Traversing Star Lord and took him up into the sky. It passed through the primordial energy and disappeared into the distance. "I won't let you go." Although Calamity Traversing Star Lord did not die, his face was ferocious. This was because he had wasted his Tao realm energy for nothing. He only had 2 lives left. After all, the Tao realm outside the island was vast and boundless, with countless taboos. 3 lives might not even be enough, let alone 2. This meant that even if he could leave the island, he wouldn't be able to go very far outside of the island. Therefore, how could he not hate? "I'll wait for your return." Lin Ling looked at the sky coldly and softly uttered a sentence. If he saw Calamity Traversing Star Lord again, he would kill him every time he saw him. At the same time, Lin Ling sensed that there were 500 more Tao realm fragments in his Tao regression celestial seat. He had won this battle completely. Moreover, he had a high chance of leaving the miasma and heading to an even more ancient world. Chapter 4584. Brother Ling. Looking at Lin Ling walking over, Yu and the rest rushed over, their faces full of guilt. If not for them, Lin Ling would not have been threatened like this. "It's fine." Lin Ling smiled and shook his head. His eyes suddenly looked at the ancient gods and coldly said, "Today's matter will not be repeated. If anyone dares to bully my woman again, I will dare to kill you even if you are a mid-level god. You can doubt my words and try to test my patience, but I must warn you, because your ending will not be good." A threat, a naked threat. However, the gods in the distance were silent. After killing the Calamity Crossing Star Lord, they already knew that on this island, no low-level god was Lin Ling's match. Seeing that no one spoke, Lin Ling led Yu and the rest towards the miasma. After Lin Ling left, many ancient great gods began to discuss among themselves. "With this guy's strength, I'm afraid he can walk out of the miasma. I don't know if he can walk out of the miasma, but reaching the 9th floor is something that is set in stone. Even the Calamity Crossing Star Lord could reach the 8th floor. Everyone was sure that Lin Ling could do it as well." Lin Ling. When Lin Ling approached the miasma, suddenly, a figure walked out in a very sorry state. It was Treasure God Nanwufengyu. Grandpa Treasure God. Seeing this, Lin Ling could not help but be delighted. "Haha, you finally came to the miasma." Treasure God Nanwufengyu came in front of Lin Ling and smiled. Then he looked behind him and said, "This miasma is really something. I almost died inside." "Grandpa Treasure God, what's inside the miasma?" "Miasma, there are demons hidden in the miasma. It seems like a short distance, but it takes several days to walk. Moreover, the spiritual energy inside cannot be recovered. Especially after the 5th floor. The miasma is really not for humans. Grandpa Treasure God, which floor are you at? The 5th floor. Not only are there many demons, the miasma is also poisonous. You can't stay in there for long. Most importantly, your spirit energy cannot be recovered. That is the biggest problem. What about Whitewater Pure Maiden, Saint Guy and the rest? They should be able to walk out. Young Qilin's strength is similar to mine. It will be difficult. As he spoke, another figure walked out of the miasma. It was indeed young Qilin. At this moment he looked exhausted. When he saw Lin Ling, he could not help but be delighted. Lin Ling, Treasure God. Little Qilin, which level have you reached? The 7th floor. I couldn't hold on any longer. But I was rewarded with 70 Dao realm fragments after I came out. There are rewards of Dao fragments. Treasure God Nanwufingyu was shocked. He quickly checked his Dao reversion heaven seat, and found that he had 50 Dao realm fragments. Haha! To think that this miasma would reward so many Dao state fragments. If we were to enter again, wouldn't we be able to obtain Dao state fragments endlessly? Treasure God Nanwufingyu said happily. I don't think so. It should be the 1st floor and then you can get it. There shouldn't be any rewards after that. Lin Ling shook his head. He did not think that there was such a good thing. Whitewater Pure Maiden and Saint Guy have not come out. They might have walked out of the island. Grandpa Treasure God, I will go and take a look. Lin Ling said. Okay, Lin Ling, you should be able to walk out of the island. We will wait for your good news. Treasure God Namwufengyu and the others smiled. Lin Ling looked at Yu Yu and gave a few words of advice. Now that he was famous on the island, he guessed that no one would dare to provoke Yu Yu. Therefore, he told Yu Yu and the rest to cultivate hard and try to walk out of the island as soon as possible. After that, he threatened the deities on the island again before walking forward. The miasma was the only way out of the island. Around the miasma was a rolling yellow ancient river. There were bubbles in the river from time to time, as if there were terrifying ancient beasts. It doesn't look long, but it will take a long time to walk through it. After a rough inspection, Lin Ling entered the miasma. As they watched Lin Ling disappear, the island began to burst into a flurry of discussions. I didn't expect this batch of newcomers to be the first to walk out of the miasma. More importantly, there is more than one person. Sigh, seeing a newcomer leave the island, I feel so bad. Let's cultivate hard. Cultivate hard. Now that more and more people are walking out of the island, I don't want to be trapped here for tens of thousands of years. Everyone felt the pressure, but they did not leave. They wanted to see if Lin Ling could walk out of the miasma in one go. Lin Ling, who entered the miasma, found that he had entered another version of the world. His surroundings were hazy and filled with blood-colored mist. The mist was very strange. It dispersed when it met people, as if it had a spirit. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At that moment, countless ancient giant mosquitoes flew over, hiding in the blood-colored mist. It was terrifying. Get lost. Lin Ling shouted angrily. A powerful aura erupted, causing all the giant mosquitoes to retreat. Then he moved and shot into the distance. His speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he reached the speed of 500,000 worlds. If he was in the void of Jojo, he could easily go from the east to the west. However, this speed was useless. He still could not pass through the first level. Instead, in the distant sky, huge ancient giant mosquitoes flew over. They were majestic, and each of them was as big as a calf. It was very terrifying. The mosquito's mouth was like a sword. It was very sharp. If one was stabbed by these mosquito mouths, even a lower deity would be sucked dry. Get lost. However, Lin Ling was not the slightest bit afraid. He continuously threw punches. The ferocious strength smashed all the ancient giant mosquitoes that attempted to approach into meat paste. Even their mouths, which were as hard as swords, were forcefully broken. Get lost. Lin Ling did not stop. He waved his fists and rushed into the swarm of ancient giant mosquitoes. In the blink of an eye, large amounts of debris fell from the sky. Those giant mosquitoes were all killed by Lin Ling's fists. However, just as he left the swarm of ancient giant mosquitoes, a large number of ancient giant mosquitoes appeared in front of him. Although these giant mosquitoes were not strong, They continued to exhaust Lin Ling's physical strength. It's probably because of the red blood-colored mist that I can't recover my essence, energy, and spirit. It's a pity that my essence, energy, and spirit are so huge. It's impossible to exhaust me in the first level. Lin Ling did not stop. He rushed forward like a cannonball. Finally, he rushed out of the first level. Even young Qilin and the others easily passed through the first level. Naturally, they could not stop Lin Ling. Rumble. The second level's mist barrier was yellow. It was very hot. It was as if one was in a volcano. Moreover, in the mist, the sky was filled with smoke and ashes, giving people a feeling of loneliness. As far as the eye could see, this place was vast and boundless. From time to time, the yellow mist would explode. Moreover, it was a big explosion that appeared out of nowhere. It looked very dangerous. Chapter 4585. Rumble. Deafening noises sounded around Lin Ling, but powerful divine essence appeared on the surface of Lin Ling's body, protecting him within. In Lin Ling's estimation, the power brought by these explosions was as much as 50,000 strands of divinity. Of course, this kind of power most lesser gods could block it. But the terrifying thing was that these explosions were endless unless one could reach the end. The first level looked at the overall strength. The second level probably looked at the density of one's divine essence. Lin Ling also instantly had a guess in his mind. Unfortunately, the density of his divine essence was gathered from 7 danshians. Whether it was the age of gods or the ancient era, in terms of the density of divine essence at the same level, who but him could compare? Rumble. Ignoring the explosions around him, Lin Ling patiently charged forward. Boom! After an unknown amount of time, a huge vortex appeared in the yellow mist, rolling and spinning, forming a huge explosion that could destroy the heavens and earth. The power of this explosion also reached the power of 100,000 strands of divinity. Looking over, spots of light appeared in the entire fog sea. Then, a terrifying shock wave erupted, connecting the entire second level of fog barrier. If it was a weaker lesser god here, they would definitely die. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, in the terrifying explosion, a figure flew past like a kite. It was Lin Ling. There's really no end to it. Lin Ling shook his head. This kind of explosion naturally couldn't hurt him, but it wasted his time, and of course it also consumed a bit of his essence, energy, and spirit. Without hesitation, Lin Ling still charged forward. He had reached the third level. The moment Lin Ling appeared on the third level, he saw endless green fog spread throughout the entire space. In the distance was an ancient forest. These ancient trees were uprooted from the ground, towering into the clouds, but they were silent. Lin Ling stepped on a huge ancient tree, not moving at all, his eyes looking into the distance. He was waiting for the danger of this level. However, it was still quiet in front of him. There were no explosions, nor were there any ancient giant mosquitoes. Moreover, Lin Ling saw that there was a winding path in the distance. Whoosh! At this moment, a bird flew out from the silent forest in the distance and flew into the distance. This made Lin Ling frown slightly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Next, countless birds flew out from the seemingly quiet ancient forest and soared into the sky. It was a majestic sight. It seems like some kind of danger is approaching. Looking at the sky full of birds, Lin Ling's eyes flashed slightly. Roar! After waiting for an entire moment, a deafening roar finally resounded from afar. After that, an enormous figure silently appeared within the hazy green mist. This figure was enormous, like a divine mountain within the green mist. It was too big. It was one of the biggest demonic beasts Lin Ling had ever seen. Moreover, a pair of blood-red eyes were faintly discernible within the fog. They were like 2 bright lights in the vast ocean. What is this? Lin Ling's lips curled into a smile as curiosity rose in his heart. Bang, bang, bang. The ground began to shake and even more startled birds took flight. Amidst the hazy mist, the enormous figure became even clearer. Bear. It was actually an ancient giant bear. It was the first time Lin Ling had seen such an enormous figure. In comparison, Lin Ling's body was only as big as the ancient giant bear's eyes. Is this the difficulty of the third level? Lin Ling was slightly surprised. However, he still stood on the giant tree and looked at the enormous giant bear from afar. Bang, bang, bang. Although the ancient giant bear looked enormous, its speed was not slow and it did not seem cumbersome. It looked at Lin Ling with contempt as its blood-red eyes emitted a demonic glow. Lin Ling stood on the leaves without moving at all. It was as if he was one with the ancient tree on the ground. Roar! When it saw Lin Ling's appearance, the ancient giant bear roared loudly. A frightening sound wave charged out like a wild wind, causing Lin Ling's long hair and long robe to flutter. However, his body still did not move an inch. This completely infuriated the ancient giant bear. The might of the ancient giant bear was not enough to intimidate him. The ancient giant bear swept its claws fiercely. The terrifying air wave caused the ancient trees on the ground to rise and tumble in the sky like straw. It was terrifying. Bang! Lin Ling raised his hand to block. All the towering ancient trees around him rose into the sky as if gravity had disappeared. Only the ancient pine tree under Lin Ling's feet remained unscathed. Swoosh! However, in the next moment, Lin Ling seemed to have been hit by a cannonball. His body flew backward and landed heavily on the ground. His momentum did not stop as he continued to fly backward. Bang bang bang. Looking at the ground again, it was as if a dragon was gliding on the ground, dragging a long shadow as dust billowed and spread. And this was Lin Ling. Boom! Several large mountains in the distance were also penetrated by Lin Ling. Finally, he stopped at the bottom of an ancient mountain that rose from the ground. Crack crack crack. However, cracks appeared on the mountain and it collapsed with a rumble. Roar roar roar. In the distance, the huge ancient bear stood up. Its huge bare arms waved at the sky and let out the most primitive roar. It was as if it had won in the most primitive battle between wild beasts. It was the king of ancient times. However, had it won? Obviously, it was impossible. First stage. A soft voice suddenly came from the huge gravel in the distance. Boom! The gravel exploded and a figure shot out like a shooting star. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the ancient giant bear. Next, a fist that seemed small but carried a destructive force smashed out violently. Roar! However, the ancient giant bear was also very powerful. When it noticed the figure approaching, its huge bear claws also swept out violently. Of course, it obviously did not gain any advantage this time. That was because the ferocious fist swept out like a gust of wind and sent the ancient giant bear flying. Bang bang bang. The ground was shaking. A huge figure glided along the ground and stirred up the heaven and earth. It's only the third level. Even young Lin and the rest passed it. How can I be defeated here? At most, you can only exhaust a little of my stamina. That's all. Lin Ling, who was floating in the sky, shook his head and said. In an instant, he disappeared from where he was. Boom boom boom. The ground shook. Lin Ling attacked crazily to suppress the giant bear, causing the green fog to swirl due to the huge impact. The entire heaven and earth seemed to have collapsed at this moment. After a long time, a figure walked along the ground like a wandering hero, and also like an ancient god that had returned from ancient times. Bang! Not far behind this person, a huge figure finally crashed down like an island. The fourth level, this person said as he walked. He raised his eyes and looked into the distance. He wanted to know how many ancient giant beasts were hidden in this ancient Tao realm. He had finally reached the fourth level. It was actually a world in the water. Countless ancient giant crabs surrounded and attacked. All of them had the strength of a late-stage lower deity and were extremely powerful. Chapter 4586. The fourth level's misty world clearly affected Lin Ling's battle strength to a certain extent. However, Lin Ling still managed to reach the fifth level without a hitch. Everything was as Treasure God Grandpa had said. From the fifth level onwards, the mist already carried a fatal attack. The fifth level was dusky, as if it was an abandoned land of the mortal world. It was like an evil land after the creation of heaven and earth. Even an ancient great god could not survive here because there was a terrifying sandstorm here. This sandstorm was mixed with the sharp power of God. It blew past and constantly pierced people's bodies. Puff puff puff. Lin Ling looked at his body constantly being pierced. Grains of sand shot into his body and he frowned. I have to find the end as soon as possible. Lin Ling knew why Treasure God Nanwufingyu failed. Because after reaching the fifth level, He had used up a lot of his essence energy. Now he had to constantly be on guard against the sandstorm. If his spirit energy was not thick enough, he would definitely fall here. In the sandstorm, Lin Ling moved against the wind, but more and more sand shot into his body. This sand was able to pierce through the protection of divine essence, and was extremely powerful. And as more and more sand piled up, Lin Ling also felt his weight crazily increase. It was as if he was dragging hundreds of mountains forward. Bang, bang, bang. At this time, a huge shadow appeared in front of him. It was actually jumping along the desert. When it got closer, Lin Ling discovered that it was a strange monster. The reason why it was strange was because this monster was not only huge but also round like a ball. Its surface had a large number of spikes. Fins. Searching his mind, Lin Ling could not think of what this monster looked like. The only thing that left the deepest impression was that it was very similar to a pufferfish. A pufferfish? And then it jumped in the desert like a balloon? Lin Ling's eyes were opened. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The two sides fought. In the end, Lin Ling emerged victorious and passed through the 5th level. And at this moment on the island, countless people were looking in the direction of the fog barrier. They could see layers upon layers of fog drifting about, and among them the last layer of fog was the most conspicuous. But after a long time it finally calmed down. Previously, the last layer of the miasma was constantly changing, and now it's changing again. It seems that both of them have walked out of the miasma. I'm so envious. They are rookies. They managed to walk out of the fog barrier the moment they arrived on the island. This batch of rookies is really impressive. There's a third person now. I wonder if he can make it out of the miasma. Discussions were heard everywhere. Many of the ancient great gods were extremely envious. That was because some ancient gods had been trapped here for tens of thousands of years. Some had even been trapped here for 100,000 years. How could they not want to leave? After all, leaving the island represented a kind of affirmation. However, even though they had painstakingly cultivated for many years, they were still lacking just a little bit. On the contrary, they often saw people walking out of the island. It was as if they had been ruthlessly stabbed in the heart by a sword. And now, the third person was also very likely to walk out of the island. This could be considered as the first batch of ancient gods to walk out of the island after so many years. As for the third person, it was Lin Ling. Whitewater Pure Maiden, Saint Guy, and the others have all left. Whitewater Pure Maiden is a medium god. If she can walk out, it means that she is stronger than ordinary medium gods. As for Saint Guy, although he is a lower god, he is a freak. The rest is up to Lin Ling. Yu and the others were also looking at the miasma. They were very happy. Look, the 6th level's miasma is glowing. The clouds are filled with lightning and thunder. This means that Brother Ling has reached the 6th level. Suddenly Yu shouted in joy. This kid has reached the 5th level. Not bad. Treasure God Nanwufeng Yu and Young Qilin looked at each other. They were somewhat excited. Although they knew that Lin Ling would definitely reach the 8th level, seeing Lin Ling reach the 6th level with their own eyes, they could not help but feel excited. The 6th level. At this moment, many ancient great gods were also looking at the miasma. The miasma was layered and distributed according to color, so it was very easy to distinguish. Moreover, it was not difficult to guess who had reached the 6th level. After all, Du Dao Star-Lord had reached the 8th level. It would not be difficult for that newcomer. And this made them even more envious. On the 6th level, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Lin Ling also used the 2nd stage of innate fusion. After a long time, Lin Ling reached the 7th level. In this level of miasma, there was not only thunder, but also heat and violence. The 3rd stage of innate fusion appeared. Du Dao Star-Lord had also barely passed this level. The latter had failed on the 8th level, but Lin Ling was stronger. So, after a long time he had reached the 8th level. After reaching the 8th level, Lin Ling had expended a lot of energy. One had to know that Du Dao Star-Lord had failed on the 8th level because he did not have enough energy. She's here on the 8th floor, but I didn't see Saint Guy. He probably left. Whitewater Pure Maiden is a common god, so she's definitely in more trouble than a lesser god. That being said, I'm guessing that she left as well. Of course, Saint Guy is the smoothest. With the Donghuang bell, he doesn't have to do anything. Standing in the sky of the 8th level, Lin Ling's eyes flickered. Even with his strength, he felt a little exhausted. And the 8th level's threat was the suction force. This suction force came from the miasma of heaven and earth. This place was like the great wilderness. It was also like the most unstable Huanyu great world before the heavens and earth were created. Life's reincarnation, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. So the miasma here had the power to turn any god into nothingness. Lin Ling was full of killing intent. Using the 3rd stage of innate fusion, he rushed into the distance. He was going all out to resist the power of the great wilderness. But the great wilderness seemed endless. There was nothing here, only endless miasma. It made one feel as if they were not moving forward at all. Clearly, this was not only a dangerous place, but also a test of a martial artist's state of mind. However, Lin Ling was a calm person. He did not care about any changes and moved forward bravely. He knew that as long as he rushed in one direction, he would definitely be able to walk out of here. After all, the miasma was only a path to God. This path would not be long. After a long time, when Lin Ling was covered in wounds, he finally walked out of the 8th level. Looking at his body, there was not a single piece of intact skin. Bones were exposed in many places. On the left side of his face there was a skeletal eye. It added a touch of fear and evil. The 9th level. Almost at the same time, countless ancient gods on the island exclaimed. The 9th level. As long as he passed it, he would walk out of the island and step into a new world. Fail he must fail. No one knew what was on the 9th level, but everyone was cursing Lin Ling's failure. They did not want to see the 3rd ancient god walking out of the island. It would be too great a blow to them. These guys. Chapter 4587. The young Qilin suddenly laughed. He looked like a child, but his eyes were filled with wisdom. You're right, kid. Once Lin Ling gets out of the 9th level, we have to work hard to get out of the island and see what the Dao realm is like with him. Treasure God Namwu Fingyu laughed. At this moment he looked forward to the outside world even more. The real Dao realm was outside the island. Although he was a god from the era of the gods, the Dao realm did not only include the era of the gods, but also the primordial era and the most ancient primordial era. How could he not look forward to it? How could he not want to search for the mysteries of the primordial era? Return of the God. At this moment the colorful fog on the 9th level formed a whirlpool that rolled wildly. An ancient and mighty voice rang out, shocking the entire world. Lin Ling looked over. All the demons in the fog barrier had gathered on the 9th level. There were ancient bears, giant mosquitoes, and even explosions. Lei Gong Lin Ling. Although he did not know who spoke, Lin Ling also shouted angrily. Fellow Taoists, this will not work. Please return. The ancient voice rang out again, causing countless echoes. Impossible. Lin Ling said bluntly. Blood sacrifice. Suddenly, the angry roar seemed to have triggered a taboo, as if it had come from the primordial era. The primordial giant bears and primordial giant mosquitoes from before began to fuse together. Looking at the colorful miasma hovering in the sky, they were now mixed together. The entire world became even more colorful. Rays of treasure light blossomed like fireworks in the distance, dazzling and resplendent. After the blood sacrifice, Lin Ling felt the suction from the 8th level appear again. Moreover, a terrifying roar rang in his ears, shattering Lin Ling's eardrums and entering his brain. It wanted to destroy everything about Lin Ling. After his ears were attacked, it was his eyes' turn. The treasure light in the distance was like a mirror, shining on Lin Ling's eyes. Humph! Lin Ling let out a muffled groan. He wanted to block it, but he couldn't. His eyes were instantly blinded. A blinding treasure light followed his empty eyes and destroyed Lin Ling's body. But this was not the end. The poisonous gas spread, sealing Lin Ling's sense of smell. All kinds of illusions fell like flowers, sealing Lin Ling's mind. His 5 senses were all sealed. This was Lin Ling's first time experiencing such terrifying power. His 7 orifices began to bleed. From afar it was a terrifying sight. This is the 9th level. The originally weak Lin Ling couldn't help but think to himself in shock after being severely injured. Now it was difficult for him to even speak. He did not know how pure Maiden White walked out of the miasma, but he was certain that very few lesser gods could do so. As for Shangyi, he was not worried because the Eastern Emperor Bell was enough to protect him. All of his senses had been sealed. This made Lin Ling realize that his powerful mortal body wasn't invulnerable. He had been cultivating the strength of his mortal body, but he had forgotten the most ordinary thing, and that was his senses. Such a setback had undoubtedly opened the door to a new world for Lin Ling. He knew that he had been blindly pursuing strength, but he had forgotten the most important thing. The foundation was actually the most important thing. Even if Lin Ling's bones, bloodline, and even cells had already been strengthened, he was now in the world of gods. There were definitely many ancient gods who had strengthened their bodies like him. However, he was stuck in his own ways and thought that the strongest power was the only thing that could strengthen his body. The Great Tao. Wrong. Everything was wrong. The true limit of the body's strength was to transform the body into the universe, into the void. Only by being undefeated could one repel the enemy. It was not to repel the enemy first to be undefeated. Fellow Taoist, sorry for the offense. While Lin Ling was still in shock, the thing formed by all the ancient giant beasts turned into a fist and suppressed Lin Ling. Lin Ling stood in the sky, already turned into a bloody man. His 7 orifices were bleeding, and his body was riddled with wounds. Even his spirit essence was mostly exhausted. In that case, it was obvious that he couldn't block this attack. At this moment, all the life on the 9th level seemed to be staring at Lin Ling, wanting to see Lin Ling fail and retreat. Even on the island, the ancient gods were staring at the final miasma. Although they did not know what happened to the miasma, they were sure that the 9th level was not simple. Step of wisdom. But at this moment, a voice formed by soul power sounded. Although Lin Ling's 5 senses were sealed, his soul power was safe and sound, because his soul power was too strong. Furthermore, his physical body did not reach invincible defense. But his soul power was invincible in defense, especially in the step of wisdom. The moment this terrifying soul power emerged, heaven and earth seemed to be sealed. Splitting open the sky, Lin Ling raised his hand, the arm that was only left with white bones, and lightly waved. It looked like a simple action, but it carried the charm of splitting open heaven and earth. It could sever all great Tao, the ultimate source of martial arts. Step of wisdom, Pengu attacked, 1 attacking, 1 defending, shocking attack. The 9th level shook. Under Lin Ling's light chop, countless lights scattered down like snow. A narrow path appeared in front of Lin Ling. The path leading to the island was completely opened. The miasma that wanted to defeat Lin Ling was also destroyed with a chop, unstoppable. And Lin Ling advanced like this, as if he did not experience any life and death crisis. That figure was so calm, like an ancient well without ripples. Rumble. Looking from the island, the miasma of the 9th level was not only flashing lightning and thunder, but there were also divine flames illuminating the world. Occasionally there would be strong winds blowing. It was incomparably terrifying. But soon, everything returned to normal and returned to normal. The gods on the island were all silent. They stared at the miasma, but the figure they were waiting for did not appear. There were only 2 reasons for this result. First, Lin Ling died. Second, Lin Ling left the island. At this moment, everyone's body trembled. Then they looked at Yu and the rest, wanting to see the answer from their faces. Yu and the rest were also very nervous. But after waiting for a while, they did not hear Lin Ling's voice. According to the norm, if Lin Ling died, the Tao realm would take Lin Ling away. Then, Lin Ling would definitely transmit a message to them in the void of the 9 states, reminding them that he, Lin Ling, had failed. But now there was none. Nothing. Brother Ling, you did it. After waiting for a long time, Yu finally laughed. As soon as her voice fell, Treasure God Nanwufengyu and the rest also laughed. A heroic feeling rose in their hearts. The third person. Looking at the gods on the island, they were greatly affected and sighed again and again. Although they had guessed that this would be the result, they still felt lucky in their hearts. But in the end, this bit of luck disappeared with the wind. Chapter 4588. His blinded eyes were now recovering. His dull hair was now regaining its luster. His broken body was now regrowing flesh. Everything was being restored to normal. I'm out. Lin Ling opened his eyes and looked at the winding path. His expression began to become excited because outside the island, that was the true Tao realm. The winding path looked very ordinary, and there was no trace of the desolate aura from before. Lin Ling felt as if he was walking on a small road in the countryside. When he completely walked out, the real desolate world appeared in front of him. The land stretched as far as the eye could see. The sky was filled with boundless spiritual energy, the ancient volcanoes, and all kinds of plants that seemed like the beginning of the world. Everything was so ancient and so powerful. Rumble. But what shocked Lin Ling was that as soon as he came out, he saw an earth-shattering battle. The pure white maiden and Saint Yi were working together to fight against a group of powerful ancient gods. Many of these ancient gods had the strength of a mid-god, and with a raise of their hands, millions of divine force erupted. There were countless mid-god divine embryos, and even a wisp of fire was an ancient divine fire. Ha ha ha. Eastern Emperor Bell. A domineering voice sounded, and an old man with long hair was controlling a huge fire-blocking dome to suppress Saint Yi and Saint Yi. Looking around, he saw that all of the gods were using their divine essence to fuel the flames, causing the fire-blocking dome to constantly emit terrifying flames. They were all sweating profusely and looked like they were having a hard time, but their faces were full of excitement. They seemed to have their eyes on Saint Yi's Eastern Emperor Bell. I didn't expect to encounter such a chaos divine artifact on my way here. This is fate. This is caused by the universe's fate. The old man looked up and laughed. Although he was having a hard time controlling the fire-blocking dome, he had a feeling that it wouldn't be long before he could refine the two. In fact, if it weren't for the Eastern Emperor Bell and the help of a mid-god woman, he would have already killed the two. Patriarch, they're dead meat. Patriarch, you've lived for thousands of years, and your kindness is immeasurable. The group of lesser deities in the surroundings didn't help him. Instead, they cheered and encouraged him. Underneath the fire dome, terrifying flames were exploding, threatening to destroy the heaven and earth. Inside the dome, an ancient bell was hanging in the air, emitting a deafening sound. Below the bell were Saint Yi and Whitewater Pure Maiden. Shang Yi's face was pale as he tried his best to control the Grand Orient Bell to fend off the godfire. Moreover, he was also very depressed. This was because when he had just walked out of the miasma and was recovering, he suddenly encountered a group of gods. They attacked him without saying a word and wanted to snatch his Donghuang bell. He and Whitewater Pure Maiden were caught off guard, and were suppressed in one move. Most importantly, they hadn't walked out of the miasma for long, so their strength hadn't recovered yet. After all, within the miasma, one's essence, energy, and spirit couldn't recover. Only by walking out of the island could they recover. Hold on. Whitewater Pure Maiden gritted her teeth. If not for her strength as a lesser deity, Shang Yi wouldn't have the strength to control the bell even if he had a divine artifact in hand. The reason why Shang Yi could still fend off the enemies was because of Whitewater Pure Maiden. Of course, this was only a temporary measure. After all, Whitewater Pure Maiden had only recovered 30% of her strength after leaving the island. What a powerful Donghuang bell. The two of you who are so weak can actually fend off a dozen lesser deities. At this time, the old man said savagely, Your Excellency, the Donghuang bell is the most precious treasure of the Donghuang clan. Even if you have it, what's the use if you can't control it? Why don't you leave immediately, and I'll let bygones be bygones? Shang Yi said. Ha ha ha, you don't have to worry about that. Let me tell you, just because others can't control it doesn't mean that this old ancestor can't. Hurry up and die. The old man spat out a mouthful of blood and laughed. It was obvious that he had reached his limit, but he believed that the two would fall before him. Someone came out? Suddenly, someone saw Lin Ling in the distance. Shang Yi and the rest turned to look, and their faces lit up with joy. Lin Ling had also walked out of the island. Originally, they wanted Lin Ling to help, but they suddenly thought of something and immediately shut up. This was because they knew that Lin Ling, who had just walked out of the island, was in the same state as them. He was very weak at the moment. A lesser deity? Where did this trash come from? If he dares to interfere, this old ancestor will chop him into pieces. The old man also saw Lin Ling. At first he was worried that he might be some expert, but fortunately he was just a lesser deity, so there was nothing to be worried about. Moreover, although he was the third person to walk out of the island, It didn't mean that he knew Shangyi and the rest, so they wouldn't dare to interfere. Brat, if you dare to talk too much about this matter, you will die without a complete corpse. Our old ancestor will kill you every time he sees you, until you don't dare to enter the Tao realm. Scram. All the intermediate deities were urging, so the lesser deities all shouted at Lin Ling. Their expressions were dignified, as if they were rewarding Lin Ling. Lin Ling glanced around and roughly knew what was going on. He didn't say anything and sat down cross-legged. This brat has foresight. That's it. Don't interfere in things that you shouldn't. Seeing that Lin Ling didn't even dare to fart, everyone felt that this was normal. After all, if a lesser deity dared to talk nonsense in front of them, that would be abnormal. However, they were also mocking Lin Ling, thinking that Lin Ling was too cowardly. In any case, they were from the same island. Even if they didn't know each other, they had seen each other before. Now that he saw a fellow cultivator in trouble, not only did he not help, but he even sat down cross-legged like a turtle and cultivated. He was a king disgrace to the world's ancient great deities. Trash. That's right, that's right. If it were me, I would do my best to help, even if I wasn't a match for him. Coward. The lesser deities stood on the moral high ground and mocked Lin Ling. Even the old man's eyes were filled with disdain. However, since the other party was a coward and trash, then he might as well kill him as well. He was an eyesore. He's probably not a big deal. Kill him. He spat out a sentence, then ignored them and focused on killing 1 or 2 people from Holy Return. Such a small fry, he probably just walked out of the miasma. His strength is limited just like a child. Come, let's go kill him. Upon hearing the order, all the low-level deities walked towards Lin Ling. Their abilities were all at the peak of low-level deities, and they had also walked out of the miasma before. However, it was not on the island that Lin Ling was on. This was because in this Tao realm there were countless miasma, and some were strong, some were weak. They didn't know how many layers of miasma there were on the island Lin Ling was on, but the miasma they walked through was only the 6th layer. Chapter 4589. Afraid of death? At this moment, Lin Ling was still sitting cross-legged, but a disdainful smile appeared on his face. He really didn't know how to write the word afraid of death in this life. The reason he didn't speak or help was that Lin Ling understood the situation clearly. He knew that the key now was to recover his strength. Even if he recovered half of his strength, it would be the death of this group of dregs. However, even though Lin Ling's recovery speed was very fast, he still needed a short period of time. Therefore, Lin Ling revealed a panicked expression and asked with a frown, "Who are you people?" "Haha, little devil, this god is Taiping's leader Yuji. I forgive your ignorance and lack of knowledge. You don't know how mighty this god was in the age of the gods. Now obediently die." The burly man burst into laughter. "This god is the watchful god Lu Hong. Holy Lord Yu Shang." The lower god behind the burly man also spoke proudly. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. It seemed that these should be the reincarnations of the gods of the past. However, at that time they were probably minor officials in the heavenly court. What Taiping's leader? He was probably a teacher. What watchful god? To put it bluntly, he was just a watchman, someone who struck the clock. These minor officials dared to touch Lin Ling? Why do you want to kill me? Lin Ling seemed to be even more panicked. However, he also sensed that the strength in his body was rapidly recovering. Just a little bit more. "Haha, little devil, I don't know which era you are from, but you're too stupid. Why do we want to kill you? You saw something you shouldn't have seen. How can we let you live? Besides, although you can't stop Patriarch Lei Tai's important matter, you're an eyesore. Do you know that? Do you know what an eyesore is? It's an existence like a pile of shit. It's not pleasing to the eye. Do you understand?" Taiping's leader said disdainfully. "Haha." Behind him, the other lesser gods began to laugh even louder. "You want to kill me? Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens?" Lin Ling asked again. "Bullshit. Ever since the will of the world was born, the heavenly Tao collapsed. Where is the heavenly punishment? Everything has changed. The ancient great gods only think about themselves. Only by becoming stronger can they not die. That's right, that's right. The so-called heavenly punishment is bullshit. Now that the 5 emperors have revived and reincarnated, didn't they also die back then? Is this the heavenly punishment? The 5 sovereigns have the same lifespan as the heavens, but they still have to die. Is this the heavenly punishment? In front of great power, Tianfa is nothing but a fleeting cloud. The lower deities spoke in disdain. Back then, how glorious were they? However, the dusk of the gods arrived, and all of them died. After they reincarnated, they came to the primal chaos realm. They started from the bottom and suffered all kinds of humiliation. So they had long disregarded Tianfa. Be obedient and be my hour. At that moment, God's patience seemed to have run out as he launched an attack at Lin Ling. Time flowed and the sun, moon, and stars quickly appeared. At this moment, it was as if the god of time controlled the flow of time. Although there was no god's stairway, the power of the god was not weak. It was in the 200,000 range. Has he turned into the river of time? Seeing that the god of time had attacked, the other ancient deities were too lazy to attack. They wanted to watch Lin Ling turn into nothingness. But at this moment Lin Ling finally stood up. Although he had not recovered his full strength, he had at least recovered half of his essence, energy, and spirit. As for the remaining half, he believed that after the battle, he would gradually recover. After all, these small deities in front of him were not very strong. Xiao, with the tyrannical song sword in hand, killing intent gushed out, and a sea of blood flooded out. If Lin Ling was like a gentle scholar a moment ago, he was at a loss and fearful of the unknown future. But at this moment, he had transformed into a god emperor. His might shocked the world and rebuked the world. Rumble! The terrifying stairway of death not only cut off the river of time, but also a fierce sword slashed at the god of time, wanting to kill him completely. Of course, at the critical moment, the Tao realm appeared and took him away. Wrapped in the power of the 5-colored light, the god of time was furious. This guy was actually so strong. What was detestable was that he was actually pretending to be pitiful. Damn it! If there is no heaven's punishment, I am heaven's punishment. Lin Ling held the blood sword diagonally and looked at the lower deities coldly. The lower deities were silent as if they could not believe their eyes. Was this still the small deity who was panicking and begging for mercy? You tricked us! The Taiping cult leader roared angrily. He was so angry that his god position was unstable. It's not really a trick. I just came out of the miasma, and my essence, energy, and spirit have not recovered. At that time you could have easily killed me. Of course now, it's me who can easily kill you. Lin Ling said calmly. You lied to me. How can you recover your strength so quickly? The Taiping cult leader roared again. You'll know after the battle. Lin Ling did not waste any more words. His physical strength erupted, and he slashed fiercely. Compared to the recovery of spirit energy, Lin Ling's physical strength recovered much faster. Lin Ling had 7 Dantians, and 5 of them were mid-god embryos. Even if he recovered 30% of his strength, it was still no small matter. Now that he had recovered half of his strength, it was equivalent to the strength of 5 peak lower deities fusing together. Whoosh! With a ferocious slash, the Taiping cult leader was taken away by the Tao realm. I can't accept this. This is the 2nd time I've died. There's only one heavens will left. Feeling himself drifting further and further away, the Taiping cult leader's eyes turned red. The next time he appeared in the Tao realm, if someone tried to kill him, he would no longer have the help of the Tao realm. He would die completely. Just the thought of it was so terrifying that he did not dare to come to the Tao realm anymore. Die! Lin Ling's killing intent surged as he killed another ancient deity. No, I don't have the help of the Tao realm anymore. The ancient deity was in an even worse state. He had already used up the protection of the Tao realm 3 times. This meant that he would die completely and disappear forever in the river of history. It would be very difficult for him to reincarnate into his original body again. Because of the heavenly mandate, the ancient deities of the past had all reincarnated. But if they died again, their life's fortune would be lost in the river of time. After they reincarnated again, it would be difficult for them to return to their original bodies. They might reincarnate into animals, or they might reincarnate into other families. I didn't provoke you, but you came to kill me? What a joke. You should have run far away after meeting me. Lin Ling ignored the ancient deity's resentment. To him, those who dared to kill him should all die. This guy is so strong. Does the island he just passed have 9 layers of fog? Seeing Lin Ling slaughtering the ancient gods as if he were chopping vegetables, the remaining people started to panic. First stage. Lin Ling saw that his spirit energy had recovered a lot and immediately fused with his innate talent. This greatly increased his speed, attack, and defense. Whoosh! Blood flowed like a river as another ancient deity died. It could be said that he killed a deity with one slash. How dare you! An ancient deity with a high status in the past shouted with dignity. Back then, he controlled millions of divine weapons. Now, he was threatened by an unknown junior. Chapter 4590. Junior, tell me your name. When I return in the future, I'll definitely take your head. Some ancient gods couldn't bear the humiliation and planned to self-detonate, so that the Tao realm expert could take them away. Of course, before they left, they would remember this blood feud. I'm Legong Lin Ling. Lin Ling didn't hide anything. The next time you come to the Tao realm, come find me if you have the ability. I'll kill you every time I see you. Lin Ling hadn't used his full strength yet, so the next time they met, it was hard to say who would die. Legong Lin Ling. All of the ancient great gods remembered this name. They lost their lives one after another, and were brought away by the Tao realm experts. Take care, I won't send you off. Watching those ancient gods leave, Lin Ling smiled coldly and waved his hand. Without a doubt, this action angered those ancient gods. Among them were emperors, generals, and ancestors from the age of the gods, but they were still killed by a nameless junior. How could they not be angry? In a short period of time, all the low-level gods disappeared. Rumble. Around the fire-blocking dome, the mid-level gods had ugly expressions, as if they had been played. Afraid of death? Coward. Trash? You must be kidding me. That kid had planned to interfere in this matter from the beginning, but he was just pretending, using the time to recover his strength. Now they were using all their strength to activate the fire-blocking dome, using the Tylee fire to burn those 2 people. They couldn't spare any time to deal with that low-level god. Damn it. In the past, no matter how strong that low-level god was, he was just an ant to them. There was no need to be threatened like this. Lin Ling held his sword and walked over step by step. He seemed to only have the strength of a low-level god, but every step he took seemed to stomp on the mid-level gods' hearts, shocking them like thunder. Because at this moment, if that kid acted recklessly, they would definitely be hit by the power of the Tylee fire and be seriously injured. What incredible strength! If he becomes a mid-level god, his strength will be no small matter. This ancient god, are you interested in becoming one of the 5 emperors? The originally domineering and unruly old man on the huge fire-blocking dome suddenly spoke indifferently. I'm Thunder Tai God, one of the 3 Thunder provinces. They also call me Thunder Tai Ancestor. As for the divine throne of the 5 emperors, this is the divine throne of Great Emperor Jun, one of the 5 emperors of the Untainted Era. As long as you enter this divine throne, you will be able to roam freely in 30% of the Tao realm. The old man continued, don't underestimate this 30%. It also represents an era. It means that in the desolate era, the ancient era, the gods, and even the current era, you can ignore countless ancient gods and do whatever you want. You make it sound so powerful. Why are you compromising with me now? Lin Ling stopped in front of the blazingly fire dome and said with a faint smile. He was also inspecting the Li fire dome. He wanted to find a weakness in it and save Shangguei and the others. Hearing Lin Ling's words, Thunder Tai Ancestor's eyes turned cold. This brat has a sharp tongue. If it weren't for this critical moment, he would have slapped him to death. However, the most important thing now was to keep this brat in check. He would slowly deal with this brat after dealing with the Eastern Emperor Bell. Haha, I'm compromising with you because I think your future is bright. If I recommend you to Great Emperor Jun will definitely be happy. Besides, do you really want to offend Great Emperor Jun for the 2 of them? One of them is the successor of the Eastern Emperor, and possesses the Eastern Emperor Bell. In the future, his name will shake the entire era. You can't compare to him at all. When he achieves great success in the future, he won't put you in his eyes. As for the other one, she is a mid-god. To a mid-god, a lower god is like an ant. Even if you risk your life to save her, she won't be grateful to you. I'm afraid that even if you want to be her servant, she won't accept you. Thunder Tai Ancestor said with a smile, his words sowing discord. Indeed, if the two of them manage to escape, they will think twice if I want to be their servant. Hearing this, Lin Ling also nodded affirmatively. That's right. So why offend Great Emperor Jun for them? Instead, join us. Great Emperor Jun will give you a deity position. Seeing Lin Ling nod, Thunder Tai Ancestor was ecstatic. This kid has fallen for it. However, this joy didn't last long because Lin Ling had already regretfully shook his head. Actually, they won't agree to me being their servant. That's because the kid with the Eastern Emperor bell is under my command. Lin Ling said lightly. What? Under your command? Thunder Tai Ancestor blinked, startled. The other mid-gods also felt that Lin Ling was joking. He owned the Eastern Emperor bell, and was a member of the Eastern Emperor clan. How could he be under this kid's command? What the hell? You say you're friends? We'll believe that. Under your command? Would the Eastern Emperor clan be willing to put down their pride to be your subordinate? As for the girl, she's my servant. This time Lin Ling said again. If not for the fact that the gods had to activate the flames, they would have fainted at this moment. After all, in the Tao realm, one's previous life didn't matter at all. What mattered was one's strength, background, and identity in this life. Therefore, a mid-god would always be a lesser god's equal. Now, a mid-god was a servant? Being your wife is already giving you enough face. Yet you still want to call her a servant? Although I'm very interested in your great Emperor Jun, one is my subordinate, and the other is my servant. As their lord, how can I stand by and watch? Lin Ling shook his head. His words carried a sense of mission as if he wanted to protect everyone. Bah! A mid-god couldn't help but curse. Just a lesser god. Did he really think he was an ancient god? How could he protect everyone? If not for the fact that they had to activate the fire-blocking dome, they could kill this kid with a single finger. Are you kidding me? Thunder Tai Ancestor's face turned ugly. He had been happy for nothing. Of course, he didn't think that Lin Ling had the qualifications to be some lord. Kid, let me tell you, you want to save them? With your strength, you're dreaming. Thunder Tai Ancestor's murderous aura surged. Now get the hell out of here or you'll die without a doubt. Old man, if you could kill me, you would have done so long ago. Why bother talking nonsense? Lin Ling wasn't afraid in the slightest. Moreover, once your fire-blocking dome is activated, the Tylee fire will burn everything, including you. That's why you need the fire-blocking dome to suppress the Tylee fire. That's why you can't separate yourselves. Therefore, it won't be difficult to break your fire-blocking dome. You have good eyesight. However, you're right. But with your strength, do you think you can break the fire-blocking dome? Thunder Tai Ancestor said coldly. As long as I break your dome, the Tylee fire will erupt and feed back to you. Therefore, I think I can. Lin Ling took a step forward, leapt forward, and charged towards Patriarch Lei Tai. You're courting death. The power of the fire-blocking dome isn't something a lesser god can resist. If you fail, you'll die without a doubt. Thunder Tai Ancestor didn't panic at all. He didn't think that Lin Ling had the strength to affect him. Chapter 4591. It seemed like a simple action, but it was enough to split the heavens and earth apart, severing the primordial chaos and creating life and the boundless universe. As of this moment, the eyes of the common gods around the enormous fire-leaving gauntlet flickered, as they realized that the world of the proto-wilds had vanished. All that remained was a single figure standing there in midair, using the power of a giant god to punish everything. Boom! When the strike landed on Lei Tai's body, his body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He instantly sensed that an unstoppable force was about to tear him apart. Although he was using all his strength to activate the Tylee fire, causing his defense to be greatly reduced, a lowly demigod was still able to attack him. However, for a lesser god to be able to injure him, this was something unbelievable in the entire Tao realm, or even in the entire era. For mid-gods, no matter how strong a lowly demigod was, they could never hurt a mid-god. But now this logic was broken. Pooh! Lei Tai spat out another mouthful of blood. He sensed that the force that was tearing him apart was even stronger. If he didn't abandon the Firelight Dome now, he would definitely be in danger. However, if he abandoned it, he would still be in danger and be attacked by the Tai Li fire. Of course, one was a life-and-death crisis and the other was a serious injury. He naturally chose the latter. Little bastard, I won't let you go. Lei Tai cursed, retracted his divine essence, and retreated wildly. Boom! Just as he retreated from the Firelight Dome, a terrifying flame exploded, causing Lei Tai to spit out blood again and again. As for the enormous fire-leaving dome, it was beginning to tremble as well, causing all of the gods in the area to turn pale and their bodies to tremble. It's over, it's over. They had gathered so much energy into the Firelight Dome, constantly activating the Tai Li fire. Now that it had erupted, the power was unimaginable. Run! They couldn't care less about Shangyi in the Firelight Dome and fled frantically. My lord! Boom! A corner of the Firelight Dome was lifted, and two figures quickly shot out. However, the Firelight Dome was still expanding, as if the firelight inside had encountered water, causing an earth-shattering change. The figures who shot out were Shangyi. Shangyi activated the Donghuang Bell to envelop Lin Ling. Just as the Donghuang Bell fell, the expanding Firelight Dome finally erupted. Rumble! Endless Tai Li fire was swallowing and spewing out, destroying everything. The Tai Li fire was the fire that perfected Tai, used to refine pills in ancient times. Even if it was just a spark, it could burn for millions of years in the void, turning the void into a flaming void. Dong dong dong. Within the Donghuang Bell, Lin Ling and the other two could feel the Donghuang Bell shaking violently. Even with the protection of the Donghuang Bell, they could still feel a burning sensation. Thinking about it, without the protection of the Donghuang Bell, the three of them would have died without a doubt. When he thought about the god-level experts outside, they probably wished that their parents had given them an extra pair of legs. Even for someone as powerful as them, when faced with the Tai Li fire, it would be an arduous and unrewarding task. What a terrifying flame! This is a true divine fire. Lin Ling said solemnly. His human monarch flame paled in comparison to the Tai Li fire. Of course, this was normal. One was the first flame of mankind, and the other was the flame that created the world. Naturally, there was no comparison. After a long time, the sound of the wind outside gradually died down. Saint Yi activated the Donghuang Bell to check the outside world. After the Donghuang Bell slowly rose, what entered their eyes was a fiery red world. Even though the energy had reached its end, Lin Ling and the rest could still feel their bodies burning. It was hard to imagine how terrifying the explosion was. In fact, they didn't know that even the great ancient gods on the island behind the fog could vaguely see the terrifying flame soaring into the sky. The flame rushed to the river around the island and instantly killed many ancient giant crocodiles. It seemed that even a god-level expert couldn't resist the power of this divine fire. Kid, I won't let you go. At this time, god-level experts crawled up from the flames on the ground. However, their bodies were covered in flames that continued to burn them, making them look very miserable. After cursing, the five-colored light appeared and brought them away. Even god-level experts had fallen. They couldn't resist the burning of the Tai Li fire. Of course, saying that the Tai Li fire killed them was more accurate to say that Lin Ling killed them. Being killed by a lower god was an endless humiliation to them. Most importantly, it wasn't just one god-level expert who killed more than a dozen god-level experts. Just thinking about it made them hate him to the core. Lei Gong Lin Ling, I Lei Tai Patriarch will not live under the same sky as you. Wait for me. When I return, I will kill you as soon as possible. At this time there was an explosion in front of them. Thunder roared as an old man floated in the air. Apart from the thunder on his body, there was also the Tai Li fire burning him. He glared angrily at Lin Ling under the Donghuang Bell, feeling disgusted as if he had eaten countless flies. It's just playing with fire. Lin Ling calmly replied. Cunning and shrewd. The two of you are together with him. Be careful that he doesn't betray you. I think he helped you because of your Donghuang Bell. Lei Tai Patriarch suddenly smiled at Shangyi, trying to drive a wedge between them. Clearly, he knew that with his current strength, it would be difficult for him to obtain the Donghuang Bell. But before that, He wanted to see that despicable little bastard die. Sorry, but he really is my lord. How could Shangyi not know what Lei Tai Patriarch meant? To him, if Lin Ling wanted to use the Donghuang bell, he would give it to Lin Ling. When he was at his weakest, it was Lin Ling who helped him without asking for anything. It was also Lin Ling who brought Lei Gong Hall to its most glorious moment. After so many years of contact, Lin Ling was the second person Shangyi trusted other than Lei Gong. You're really despicable. He's just a lower god. How can he be your lord? You're a disgrace to the Donghuang clan. Lei Tai Patriarch cursed when he saw that his plot had failed. Sorry, but I'm also his servant. At this time Pure Maidenbai also spoke. This time she didn't resist being called a servant. Before she met Lin Ling, she was still trying to break through to the Great Seal Realm in the Broken Realm. But after meeting Lin Ling, not only was she free, but she had also reached the realm that her father yearned for. The Dao Realm. Her father was right when he told her to follow Lin Ling. You're also despicable. Lei Tai Patriarch felt like he had been slapped twice when he saw Pure Maidenbai admit it. He couldn't understand where that kid got the courage to summon these two experts. The current you should be very weak, right? Should we send you away? Or do you want to leave on your own? At this moment Saint Guy said indifferently, and the smile on his face was filled with mockery. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.